Hi everybody, I am Jenna and this is Apple Dolly Creations, and I was asked by Ann, one of our followers here. Excuse my mess back there. I am trying to get this place organized. Yo-yos, fabric yo-yos. Now there's just circles of fabric, and I have all kinds of yo-yos made. Big ones, even tiny little ones. So this is what I'm going to show all of you and Ann how to make. So I make these all the time. This is something that you can throw in a Ziploc bag, throw it in your purse while you're sitting in the car waiting on your child to get done with whatever they're doing, or in a doctor's office, because I have a tote full. So I'm going to also give you some ideas of what you can do with these. Now I've got circles cut out here. I have had these for years. I can't tell you how long. But they're just out of like cereal boxes, you know, food boxes is what they are. Now, the big ones I don't use very often, but I am going to show you what you can do with these big ones. Now, this is the big one, and this is what you get. So whatever diameter you want your finished yo-yo to be, you need your starting circle to be double. Okay? So that's the one thing you need to keep in mind. See, I even have tiny ones. Now what I use these for are on doll dresses and different things like that I make. I also have made scarves for on my furniture. So this is one idea. You can sew these together and put them in any shape. So this is one idea. I have one made for that fits the tank of my toilet, on the end tables. So there you go. You can make them into dresser scarves. You can also take them and make them into flowers just by stacking them and putting a button. Now I'm going to show you how I made this one too. So this is what the leaf was. So I just grabbed the center and pulled it out and just worked with it till it stayed out, and I have a leaf. See? Okay, so these are just a couple of ideas. So this also, you take your green one, make your leaf, put it on the back of a yo-yo. You know, stack a couple yo-yos together like this, and makes a real cute brooch. So children can do this and make these for Mother's Day. Let me see if I can get you a better look, since this one isn't. But it makes it like a little corsage too. So those are ideas. But they make cute flowers. So, and this is just a stem from roses my husband bought me the last time. I dried the heads, and then I just took the stems and I dried those too. So I kept them for stuff like this. So I have a whole bunch of circles cut here, and they're different sizes. There's smaller ones. This is normally the size that I use, which is about a 3.5 inch circle. That's normally the size that I cut my scrap fabric, because that's what I make all of these out of. But I don't like to waste any fabric. So then I have all these tiny ones. These ones are harder to make. So we're going to put all of this aside, scoot these over. So what you need to start out with is needle and thread, and you want your thread to be doubled and knotted. So after you cut your circle, and remembering that the circle has to be double the finished size of the yo-yo, and you'll see that here in a moment. So I always start out on the back side of the fabric. Now some of the fabrics, if you don't like that bright green, flip it over. You get a more muted color. So you can use the front and the backs of fabric. Now when you get to, see if I have any homespun here. Yeah, homespun. It's the same on both sides. That's one nice thing about homespun. It's printed on both sides. So how you start out is, this is your raw edge. You want to turn it under just a little tiny bit. Just a little tiny bit. And you want the knot on your thread to be on the inside of your fabric. And you do a running stitch, which is just an in and out. And as you go around your circle, you turn this raw edge under just a little bit. This is something you can do while you're watching TV. Like I said, sitting in a car, in a doctor's office. And you just keep going all the way around the circle. Just flipping this raw edge in just a little bit, just like maybe 1/8 of an inch. Now once you start making these, I'm going really slow. Once you start making these, you will go really quick at it. Like first, second one, and then you've got the hang of it. You see, it's all gathering here on my needle as I go around, and then once in a while I just pull it all through. And see, it's just a running stitch. Now I'm doing small stitches. You don't want to take gigantic stitches because you don't want this coming apart. And the smaller you make your stitches, the nicer your finished yo-yo will be. Now back in the 30s, I think it was, they used to make quilts out of these. So once you've reached the point where you started, this is what you have. And now you have a finished edge all the way around. Now I bought a whole bunch of these from a lady that was cleaning out somebody's sewing room on eBay. Some of hers, see how big that center is? That is a really big hole. Now there's nothing that I could do with this except for stacking and making flowers out of this, because that hole is way too big. You want, when you pull this, you want your center to be closed. Maybe the tip of your little finger opening there. Okay, so we're going to pull this just like you do, just like you would if you was gathering fabric. Pull this. Now as you go, you can adjust this so that the opening there is in the center of your yo-yo. Now, like I said, you want a little bit of an opening there, the tip of your finger, big. Okay? So then all you're going to do is I hold it with my thumb where the thread is so it doesn't let loose. Take your needle and go into a couple of the puckers where you've gathered it and make a stitch. Go in and out a couple of times. And then you can adjust this by pulling these, because now it's not going to let loose because you got a cut. I have 2 stitches there. But this is what you want it to look like. See that tiny little opening there? And then you can adjust this so that your opening's in the center and that it looks nice before you make your final knot. So we're going to go back in just like we did, and we're going to go back in and out of this fabric. Now I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to wrap it around my needle 3 times and pull this through and pull this tight. Now my thread just broke. You don't want that to happen. So if that happens, take your needle, go inside and pull it back out. You want to knot this. Now that knot will stay, but I always like to do one more knot on top of my finished knot where I wrap the thread around several times on the needle, and that just is like a locking. That just like locks those knots in there. So then I take my needle back through and bring it out of the center, and that way it hides the tail of your thread. And we just made a yo-yo. So we're going to do that one more time. I'm going to knot my thread. I'm going to fold just a little bit and go all the way around, and I'm using my thumb and my first finger to help fold this in and give me some control over that fold. So the right hand using the needle and the left hand is flipping that raw edge so that I can put the needle through it, and it gives us a finished edge. If you didn't fold this raw edge in, and if you're making something that you're going to launder, like the dresser scarves, then now I hand wash these, but if you machine washed it, I would put it in a laundry bag. But if you didn't fold this raw edge under, then you're going to get all kinds of fraying, because the best fabric that I have found to make these from is a cotton, and cotton will fray. And you don't want to put this much work into something that you're making and then have it fray. It won't look right. Now, if you're making flowers, you wouldn't necessarily have to fold this raw edge under. I do, because I mean, even though I glued a button in the center, you won't see that, and this is never going to be laundered. It's just a habit that I got into. I make these yo-yos, I throw them in that tote, and then I can use them for anything. I don't have to look at, oh, this one's, I can't use that one because it has a raw edge. This is a good thing to do when you're traveling in a car. A great thing to do for that. And I've got a whole stack. I'm cutting these because we're going on a trip in June, and this is what I'm going to be doing in the car. Because anymore, I can't read in a car. I instantly get a headache. So that's what I used to do. So I'm just pulling this out, just making it look right. And see that center, how big that center is? I can put the whole finger in there. So that's too big of an opening. Now you can make this opening as tight as you want. You don't have to leave any space in that opening. Let me pull this one tighter. That one is totally closed. That's your preference, however you want to tighten this. If you want to leave a little bit of an opening, or none. Okay? So we're just going to take a couple of stitches here. So this will stay closed. Now these are nice if you are framing like old pot holders, you know, the crocheted ones. I have a whole bunch of them that I'm going to frame. Now you could put a couple of these around your, like, make a mat around your pot holders. If you are doing a vintage collage, these are nice to add to clothing. You can sew them on pockets. You can sew them around a neckline. You know, if you put a whole bunch of them around a neckline. I mean, your imagination is the only limit to what you can use these for. Because if you use them on clothing, it's fabric, they're washable. But just like I said, if you're going to launder something that you made these with, just like turn it inside out or put it in a laundry bag. Now I'm going through this loop 3 times, and then I'm going to pull this, and then I'm going to make one more knot, and it's called a locking knot, so that way it's secure. Now that thread keeps breaking for some reason, but there you go. So look how cute. And it makes a cute leaf too, because it's gathered. It stands out. But you can put 3 or 4 of these together. Let me grab some here. Now this is one of the ones that I got from that lady from eBay. Now it's made from a polyester. You can use any fabric you want. Wool makes beautiful ones. But this is a polyester. Personally, I don't like them made from polyester. Now this one I would use for a flower. I would not use it on anything else that I'm making. But you can stack them up as many as you want and make that cute flower. But look what a cute little pin that would make. Put a pin back on it. Take one and pull it apart to make a flower or a leaf. Wouldn't that be cute for Mother's Day? A really cute Mother's Day corsage. And then she would have it forever. So see, you could stack up. Let me put a straight pin through these so my fingers are out of the way. And we'll pin this on the back so you can get a good look at this. Isn't that adorable? You could stitch it together, you could glue it together, put it on a pin back, and wear it as a corsage. There's an idea that you could do with a children's group for Mother's Day. A birthday. See, this is just a pearl-headed pin, but you could buy pearls and sew it in or glue it in. You could just glue this whole thing together after you get the yo-yos and the leaf made. Now the leaf is just a yo-yo. Get this thread off. I pulled the center. Now see, this one has this is one of the ones I got from eBay. This is a bigger center than I like, a bigger opening. But you just pull it. So your opening is on the bottom, and you just pull it out, and you have a leaf. So you have a leaf. So if your mother has a birthday coming up or a special occasion, but wouldn't these be cute for, like, if you're having an afternoon tea? If you're doing a baby shower, you could make these out of baby fabrics. If you have a woman's group, like a prayer group that you get together once a week, wouldn't that be cute to take and give to everybody, and everybody could wear it? So there you go. Now when I had my store, I made these and I sold these as pins, and I put them on a piece of cardboard. I put them on a piece of cardboard, and I sold these like crazy. But so if you do a lot of craft shows, or you have a booth in a shop, there you go. Scraps, all different sizes. And they're adorable pins. Or flower. Make several of these if you're going to visit somebody in a hospital. Wouldn't that be a nice thing? And then they could keep this forever. You know, put several of them in a vase. So there you go. Or you can make dresser scarves. Now I have a very, very old magazine picture. Now, I hope that you can see this. This is something that somebody took a picture of. And there is a yo-yo quilt on a bed. So can you imagine making, I can't, thousands, 1,000 yo-yos? But if you're doing this in your spare time, watching TV, waiting on your children in a doctor's office, there you go. Now my friend Ann, she's going through cancer treatment, and this is what she wants to do. And while she's going for treatments, she wanted to know how to make yo-yos. And this is what she's going to do while she's sitting there doing her treatments. She's going to make yo-yos. This is her picture of what she wants to do. So Ann, you're in my prayers. And if I can help you at all make these, let me know. I'll help you sew them. God bless you, every one of you. And I hope you give this a try, because they look a little tedious, but once you get going, they're very simple. You can flip through them while you're watching TV, because that's mainly when I do these. But any shade of green will make a flower. Now, if you use 100% cotton, they show up, they do nicer. Now, this is like a really heavy woven fabric. Now, here is one. Now, these came from that eBay. This is like a velvety type fabric. And where's that other one? So, like this is a knit too. Now, this is like a satiny fabric. Here's another satin fabric. My preference is 100% cotton, but I have a ton of these in here. Now, see that opening? That's way too big for me. But this would make a cute flower, wouldn't it? A nice big corsage. I'm not sure how big that circle is, but you could stack these. And make a corsage. But these tiny little ones I use on my little doll dresses. And sometimes I will stack these, sew these together and stack these and make around the collar on a doll's dress or across the pocket. I will make little tiny flowers. I haven't done that in a while, but the 100% cotton is better. That's what I have here. These are just, another thing is, if you have a fabric that you think, I will never use that for anything, make yo-yos. Because when you make a yo-yo out of it, let's make a yo-yo out of this and I'll show you. This is a fabric that I would never use for anything. This is like a 70s fabric. Let me thread another. Because the ugly fabrics is what I call them. And you might totally love that fabric, but it's nothing that I would use. And I'm going to show you what an ugly fabric turns into a nice yo-yo. Get this threaded. My fingers are not working right today. The arthritis is rebelling against my new job. So we're going to do this real quick. So it's just a running stitch, very simple in and out stitch. If you don't know how to do sewing at all, the hardest part of this is deciding what size circle you want and cutting that circle twice the size as you want. Let me see this one. Okay, this is the circle. Now I'm going to show you once we get this done why your pattern has to be so much bigger. And you don't have to go out and buy the pattern fabric. I mean, the plastic that you can cut your patterns out of. Just use a cereal box or a box that, you know, something else that you're buying. Just the flimsy cardboard. You don't have to buy special stuff for everything. I mean, they market special plastic that you can cut your patterns from, but why when you have cardboard? I always stick my finger on the inside when I'm pulling this because it kind of helps centers your knot or your opening. Now see, we took what I call this ugly fabric and it did make a nice yo-yo. So if you have fabric that you don't like, and if you have a fabric stash, probably most people don't have a fabric stash like I do, but I have fabrics that I don't like, and I will never use them for anything. but I will for yo-yos. So this will make a nice yo-yo, but to cut something out of it and to make, never. But that's my preference. You might look at this fabric and think, oh, I wish I had a couple of yards of that. But I've cut it all into circles. So we have a nice yo-yo. Now this I will use. Where'd that fabric go? Oh, I dropped it on the floor. Here's another piece of it. But this I will never use. See the difference? Now, this was the size circle that we started with. And this is the size yo-yo we got. So determine how big your finished yo-yo you want, and then cut your circle twice that size. So this is 1.5 inches now. This is 3.5 inches. This is your hardest part, actually. Because when I first started making these, I couldn't figure out how to get the size yo-yo I wanted. But now I make tiny ones. Because I don't waste any fabric, because if you're a sewer, you know how expensive it is. So this is another idea, that if you're a sewer and you've got a whole bunch of clothing that belongs to somebody, you can cut it up and make yo-yos and make a square, or this is a rectangle, and make a pillow. So you use all your different fabrics and make pillows, make throw pillows. You could frame this. If you're doing like a memory item, frame it. Wouldn't that be pretty? And then put the person's picture that wore this clothing in your frame. Make a shadow box. So the ideas are only limited by your imagination. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you got something out of this, because like I've told you before, if you want to know how to make something, or you're making something and you can't figure it out, send me pictures, send me a message. I will try and help you figure it out. But yo-yos and new, I make yo-yos because I used to work with her, and I used to sit on breaks and make yo-yos. So there's another way you can use up break. But make a corsage. So if you're making a shadow box and you're making yo-yos to put in the back of the shadow box, and you're putting the person's picture in it, look how cute that would also be inside the shadow box. Okay? Thanks everybody. Have a great day. I hope you make these, and if you do, let me know, because I love to see what you do with my ideas, because the way I do it, you might look at this and say, oh, I know exactly what to do with this. Let me know, because I want to see. I want to learn from you too. I want to know your ideas. But this, since I put this together, I'm going to glue it together, and I'm going to leave it like this because I think this is adorable. But you know what? I wear hats all the time. If you have a plain hat. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great